Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Adobe Executive Vice President and General Manager, Digital Experience, Mr. Brad Rencher.
Good morning, everybody. Just really pleased to be here at Silicon Slopes, and I get the chance to talk to one of the amazing CEOs that we have here in the state, who's running a company that serves millions of customers every day and has the challenge to delight those customers because they are passionate about the work and passionate about the brand. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Margo, the CEO of Ancestry, and she's going to come out and just drop some knowledge on us. Thank you, Margo. All right, Margo, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Margo. So Ancestry, you've got 20 million people who are engaging with you. But as you've looked at Ancestry from your own point of view, with your own lineages, are there any stories that you've come up with talents and things that are there that you could share with us?
Well, it's fun when you explore your family through Ancestry. You always end up with unexpected discoveries. And I kind of started my career as a classical musician. So when I accidentally stumbled on the fact that I'm related to Elvis, it's not classical music, but I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
What's the tie? How many generations? You're related to Elvis Presley.
So, these become a cousin network. But it's one of those when you do look at who you're related to, it's kind of fun.
So someone used the Relative Finder app, and let's see if anyone's related to Margo and Elvis. that would be good. So the core of Ancestry's business is interesting. It's a 30-year-old company.
It is.
30 years, and in technology, where companies come and go quite a bit. That's you're in a very elite company in terms of this is the number of years it's there. And the interesting thing about Ancestry is everything's rooted in science and data. But you bring emotion into it, because I remember there are times the stories that you tell about the brand. So share a little bit about how Ancestry is bringing that emotion along with science and data to all your customers.
Well, when we think about our mission, it's about empowering journeys of personal discovery to enrich lives. And the reason why we think about it that way is that every customer who comes to us has a different reason for doing it. And that's what makes it so deeply personal. Some people are looking for a parent. Maybe they were adopted. Other people have moved many times and maybe have disconnected from parts of their family. And other people have heard a lot of stories over the years, but they don't know if it's true, or they want to go deeper and create their own understanding of their past. And then people just come in and they know their family history, but they fall in love with the hobby and this ability to be an incredible problem solver in humanity. And so our power users who build millions of nodes on their trees have really underpinned this network and are amazing historians and scientists because they're like detectives, right, for this huge community. And so this really makes this service deeply personal.
And it's there and it's personal. And we were talking backstage just about how do you scale that personal connection that people have with you as a brand, and also with the work that you do. So how do you delight customers? Because one of the things that I believe is that that consumer brands, enterprise companies, from now till really into the future, are going to the success or failure of that company is going to be based on the efficacy of the customer experience you provide. Like you win or lose in every moment and every millisecond you're providing those experiences. And I know you're passionate about this. So how do you provide a great customer experience and delight 20 million customers every day and every moment?
It's a real challenge, and we have to get better at it every day. But at the root, it's respecting the fact that our product is so deeply personal. And our job is to help consumers on that journey. And we give them the content, the tools, and the connections that help them find success. So it starts from when they come to us at the beginning. there's a lot of things we need to know. What are you looking for? How much experience do you have with this craft? And then we have to be able to help them step by step. And I think about it, coming from my Google background, we need to provide suggest and assist in context with the journey that they're on, because we have 20 billion records.
20 billion.
And 30,000 collections, and so it's really hard. We have birth records, marriage records, death records, military records, parish records, emigration records, military records, newspapers, right? You name it, we have digitized for 30 years this unbelievable content repository. But it's not the content, it's fundamentally a people business. And it's about the people and the connections and the insights between those records. And that's where AI is so powerful. And I think what, as a company, we really want to do is to use AI to create more connections between more people than we ever have, so that more people can make more meaningful discoveries. It's also important for us that we democratize access. Today, we provide a great experience, but not a great experience for absolutely every person from every place. And it's our commitment to get better every quarter at bringing more people, more insights than we ever have, whether it's through DNA or it's through being able to explore our records collections. And so that's really, for us, what gets us up in the morning is creating this collective shared humanity where everyone can understand their family story.
And is that one, how, as you have a large organization that you've got multiple different businesses and people in, these organizational silos that sometimes exist that get in the way of providing that customer experience, any stories or things that you could share with the teams as they're thinking about these digital interactions, these digital moments that matter? And really, it boils down to milliseconds. How are there ways that you've solved that at Ancestry or are on the journey to solve, kind of getting the organizational chart out of the way to help provide these great customer experiences?
Well, absolutely, I agree with you that silos are the biggest enemy of speed and innovation. And it's the biggest challenge as you scale. How do you actually ground your organization? And I think that starts from being mission obsessed. And so that mission that I talked about empowering journeys of personal discovery, is something we anchored on this year as a company. And then each word in that sentence has meaning. And it is the filter for everything we do. And then we're obsessed about our customer metrics. And that's one of our values, is to be customer obsessed. And that means that we understand and we're data-driven, because the data doesn't lie. If you understand how many consumers, we have 25 million people coming to our website every month. Mm-hmm. And how many of those people do we give a great response? How many of the people that come into our journey actually stay and find what they're looking for? And how satisfied are they? And identifying those important, pivotal customer experiences and making sure that we're meeting or exceeding. And again, we do many of those well today, but there's a lot more we can do. And I think that obsession about every month, every quarter, how are we getting better, for me, is what drives that sense of accountability. It all ladders up to a customer-centered goals.
And it's one, I'd love to kind of geek out on just for a moment, how did you identify? I love what you talked about, just being mission obsessed. Because too many times, I think as companies scale, if they don't have that North Star, the mission, and they're actually committed to it, and they're intentional about how they go after that, then I think that they lose their way. And you've been you've been at several companies that have scaled, but Google in particular has scaled in a way that very few companies in the history of the world have scaled. So maybe let's talk about how you pick those whether they're KPIs or those, what the mission is, and then how you measure your accountability against that. Talk about maybe any lessons learned from scaling a business.
Yeah, it's one of the most exciting things when I came on this Ancestry journey, was this opportunity to scale from a single to a multi-product business that can serve more needs for the customer. And that's really, at Google, we started out as just desktop search. We went from, during my time there, from 20 to 100 billion, and we created all the different mobile video platforms, enterprise, all these different ways in which we could bring and delight people with different experiences, but they were all rooted on this obsession of organizing the world's information to make it universally accessible and useful. Yeah. And everybody in the company knew what that was, and Larry
they could repeat it,
was relentless about that. And I'm really excited at Ancestry now, this concept of empowering journeys of personal discovery people are obsessed. They talk about it. They argue about it. Is that product great enough? Are we providing a dead end? Is there always a next action? Are we really giving them the insights and the tools that they need to succeed? And that's what drives people in the office now to come up with our product roadmaps and our innovations and our marketing. Is it all connected? And so as a company, I think having that North Star is really important. I think as you are a company trying to scale into the billions, I think you really have to challenge yourself on what are your platform ideas. And are they ideas that can have a V1, a V2, and a V3? Because it's really hard to scale if you don't get that algorithmic moat, especially if you're a software-led company. And where is that insight going to come from? Because when you commit to learning with every interaction, the company naturally gets better at meeting customers' needs, because that's the way you run the company fundamentally. I think the other thing that really helps in making sure you stay in front of things with the customer is something we use at Google. We call it the 70-20-10 philosophy, which is
70-20-10, okay.
Which is 70% of your strategy being based on what's going to deliver your revenue and economics in the next 12 months, 20% of it, what's going to happen kind of in the 12 to 18-month time frame, and what's going to happen kind of 2 to 3 years out. And if you don't have that portfolio, and those things are really customer-centric, especially those 10%ers, because most really big ideas, they take 2 to 3 years to nurture. But if you're going to scale your company, you have to say, how big am I going to be 3 years from now? And is that idea big enough in that 10% bucket to be material in terms of growing and opening up new segments and new capabilities 3 years from now? That's a very different mindset. And so I think that's what really has made companies like Google so successful. And what I'm excited about at Ancestry is we have the portfolio of ideas now in place, and we feel that we understand the present and the future of where we're going, and we can continuously learn as we go how to delight those empowering journeys every quarter.
The 70-20-10, that is something that I think really resonates. And a couple things you talked about that I think are powerful just for everyone, no matter what business is in, is what are those technology moats, those deep moats that you're going to build that are going to be super hard to replicate, that are going to give you that lasting value to let you collect economic rents for a decade, 2 decades.
Yep.
Those are hard to build, but I think if you're intentional about that, I look at Google. Google's become a verb. At the company I've been so fortunate to be a part of, we have a couple verbs. You've got Photoshop. You have these technology moats that are long lasting, and that becomes very powerful in order to scale.
That's absolutely right, and I think it's a commitment. I do think Ancestry has been around for 30 years. They've been an innovator on so many levels, right? Started out as a magazine publisher, first company to digitize content, historical content at scale, first company to be a subscription company with 1 million subscribers, first company to millions in DNA by reinventing the supply chain. And as we think about what is possible with machine learning and AI, we can go from being a record server or DNA as one of the most extraordinary content records as a human, right? Yeah. How deeply personal it is. But we can actually become a true technology company. When we think about in our core genealogy business, our North Star for the customers, how do we help people build the biggest, highest quality, richest trees with assistance as they need it, and make meaningful connections both on and off the platform that enrich their lives. And those two things are measurable, and they provide flywheels of innovation. And I think that's a mindset that you have to commit to, that North Star.
And and I love the way that you talk about just using AI and ML, because the interesting thing, I think, you look at AI, a lot of times people are like, artificial intelligence is going to predict the weather and beat me in chess. And it's like, that's the use case that's there. But I actually think the more powerful use cases and where it should be applied is exactly what you're talking about. In deep domain expertise in a particular area to delight a customer, to make a user experience better.
Totally agree. I think we spend way too much time talking about the technology and not about the customer obsession. And I think Ancestry was successful for decades because it was obsessed about what's the next problem it can solve for its users. That's what enabled it to survive so many tech transitions. I think that's what will make us great users of technology, because we're using it in service of the customer. And as I said earlier, it's all about how do we suggest and assist in context. We absolutely have to have the best record collection in the world, but none of that matters if we can't get that record to the right person at the right time and help them find the connections and the insights that happen for the people that those records are connected to.
And Margo, I mean, you're amazing. It's like, we could riff here all day, because the depth at which you're talking about technology and artificial intelligence is inspiring. But you stepped into the CEO job at Ancestry a little under a year ago, right?
Yes.
So, welcome to the state of Utah.
Thank you.
And the Silicon Slopes community. Maybe just quickly for everybody, what are your observations? You've been part of the Silicon Valley for a long time. Like, maybe just a little observations on the state, the community, and what you see.
Well, it's been so exciting to spend more time in Utah. Years ago, when I was running Discover's U.S. card business, we had a great call center here. So I spent a bunch of time and really enjoyed the state. But now, coming back, it's a totally different place. I mean, the amount of energy and innovation, new ideas, collaboration, and just the way the state is organized to support, businesses to thrive has been really impressive to me. And we have an amazingly talented pool of people at Ancestry. And getting to know them, and there is this pioneering spirit. In fact, our value system is customer obsessed, pioneer relentlessly, and empower each other. And what I love in this state is we can build these great T-shaped leaders that I think will help companies get to the next level, because the beauty's in the blend. We need great experts in content and science, in technology, in marketing, in all these different places. But what we need is great leaders that can be domain experts, but then know how to reach across and collaborate, because that's where the magic happens. It's in that blend. That's where innovation, the sparks fly. And I see in Utah a lot of people asking those what if and why not questions that made Silicon Valley great.
Yeah.
And I think if we keep doing that and we support each other, this will be an unbelievable community. So I'm excited to be here.
I'm totally in. I'm in with you. And so let's give Margo first a welcome to the state, and just a hearty round of applause for all the great work that Ancestry is doing. Margo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause again for Brad. Brad, thank you. Margo, thank you for being on the Silicon Slopes stage.